Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fire Up. Yes, folks, it says Fire Up. There is not a state name attached to this one. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, and we are introducing a brand new show tonight, and it's called Fire Up. And the purpose of this show, folks, okay, is to give everybody an opportunity to go ahead and be a part of this entire market. Now, with that said, okay, we currently have shows in Michigan, Florida, and Wisconsin. So, therefore, we are not by any stretch of the imagination taking away from what we're doing. All we are looking to do is simply build it. And I couldn't think of two better individuals to have here with me than George Icorn. And George, go ahead and we're glad to have you. And
Thank you.
I want you to also let everybody know that you have a book out there. So why don't you go ahead and bring on the book right away before we go over to Madman?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I wrote a book, Detroit Sports Media on the Air from Arcadia Publishing outfit in Carolina. And what the mission of that book was is to highlight the great voices in the state of Michigan. And I know all states have great announcers. I'm not doubting that. But we all know we lost a great friend in Vin Scully, the longtime Dodgers voice. We all know about Harry Carey and people like that. But in Michigan, we highlighted the great ones like Ernieharwell and Paul Carey and Ray Lane for baseball and George Blaha for basketball. Milt Hopwood used to do Pistons basketball. And Van Patrick, Bob Reynolds, Mark Champion, Jim Brandstetter, Frank Beckman did the Lions games. Now Dan Miller is doing a great job. So we took each of the sports, hockey, of course, I didn't mention, but Bud Lynch, Bruce Martin, and Ken Kell, Paul Woods, Mickey Redmond, a lot of. So what we did was we got interesting photographs from the historical standpoint of broadcasting in Michigan. And Scott, as you know, I included sportscasters and happy to include you also because
Right.
you, along with me, got our start with the Sports Exchange, of course, at the ABC-owned station WXYZ. And, you're featured there with some great photographs you came up with, too, when you interviewed Jimmy Connors and Muhammad Ali. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. So the book is available. There's a link to buy the book if you wish to buy it online at the South Florida Tribune website. And Arcadia, the going rate is about $19.99 for it. But, I could always sign a copy for you if you want it. You mail it to me. I'll mail it right back to you. I'll pay for the postage to mail it back to you if you want. But it's a great book and a great memory of Detroit's current and past broadcasters. So I'm pleased to do that.
Now, all I know is if I'll ever write a book, at least I can go to my grave knowing that I was at least in one. So, with that said,
Yes.
okay, George, yeah, it was great. It's always been great to be in that book. And I know certainly the proud history of the Detroit market. So, I want to once again reemphasize, folks, before I go over to Madman, that this show will cover every market. Okay. Now, we realize Mr. Guinness Book of World Records, Madman Mancini, thinks he can go into every market. Okay. And regardless of what airline he's on or whatever, and jump from one broadcast to another. But this is what this show is designed to do, is to cover every market that we haven't already talked about. Now, Madman Mancini, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview about some of the things that you're doing right now? Obviously, I know that expansion is certainly part of what we're attempting to do. Well, we'll see if he gets that opportunity to do that. But I should point out that when I was in Cooperstown, that I had an opportunity to do a show with a guy by the name of Dale Eller with the Pittsburgh sports scene, and that would have fallen under this classification. And to me, it would have been Fire Up Wisconsin, Fire Up Pennsylvania. So I know we lost Mancini for a moment, so we'll have a chance to go ahead and go from there. So.
And I know you said, Scott, that he was such an interesting person to talk to, with his background, like you said, Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh sports and all that. And, when you walk into a town like Cooperstown and that firsthand, you don't know who you're going to meet, where they're from, because baseball is universal.
Yeah, it is. And you never know who you're going to meet anywhere. And I think the best part about it is my wife Candy really created the idea, and I thought, yeah, wow, this makes an awful lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I thought about it, well, think about really what you're trying to do. We're trying to capture so many different markets, and it's a much easier situation to be able to take care of that. So,
Yes, absolutely.
but what are your thoughts about the idea?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, you know, the whole country's on fire for sports, and if Fire Up, we're on the air and talking about all the different things going on in the world of sports, baseball, basketball, football, hockey. Especially, this is an exciting time of year because we're almost to that month of September when we have all four of them going the same time. Of course, October, all four of them will be going on too, but there's a lot going on in sports, and we're trying to fire it up as best we can. Absolutely.
All right, now we got man C. So apparently had a little bit of a technical difficulty. So with that said, Mark, okay, we're glad to have you back on. So obviously, you and I have been working together on numerous projects, anyhow. So what I want to do is, Mark, we both know one thing: when you're trying to deal with distribution, it's a little tougher. But now our goal here is to put it under one umbrella. So we have our three markets already intact with Wisconsin, Florida, Michigan, and now this opens up the floodgates for other markets. So, Mark, I think that's the best thing about what we're looking to do is expand our platform to get to as many different places as we can. Whether we do remote mini broadcasts or actually live streams, it doesn't make any difference. I think this is the thing that we visualized when we created this Fire Up platform for a lot of people to participate. Now our goal is simply to take it to the next level.
Well, not only that, your wife deserves a lot of credit. I mean, behind every good man, there's a great woman. So that's the way I look at it. With her expertise and knowledge, creating all of this, setting it all up, it's amazing. You got a brilliant guy out there in Detroit with George Eichhorn. You and I have, ripped up some of these cities. We continue to rip up these cities, and I look at it like this: they can either pay us now or they can pay us later. We're that good.
Right.
And it's kind of like that Amco thing. We've built something. Money comes and goes. Relationships are priceless, and we're a well-oiled machine here, my friends.
Yeah, and we're going to get better. And one thing I should point out too, I'm glad you bring up that point, Mark. You and I do a show called Sports Talk Saturday with Bruce Kessinger. One of the things I'm looking to do as time progresses is to bring a guy like Bruce Kessinger on, where he's involved with the blog radio format, and try to bring his show to life a little bit in video format. And I think with the resources that you have with guests and things like that, this is just another opportunity for those great guests that you have on that show, that we have on that show, that we've worked collectively to build. And hey, two for the price of one. You come on Saturday, and guess what? We get to go ahead and bring on again. And this is just one example of all the different projects that we're working on in an attempt to bring the best guests out there, so all you fans and followers can definitely enjoy what we're doing. We work very hard to go out there and bring this to you, and we want to make sure that when you watch our shows, that we do them with the utmost sincerity, and that everybody's interest is at hand, and that you can get something out of it. We create these chat rooms so we can interact with you as well. So, all in all, I think the growth situation as well. Let me tell you, folks, I spent 8-9 hours on my Sunday yesterday, okay, trying to find out new co-hosts as well as guests for all these potential markets. So I could see a show occurring once in a while in the Carolinas, just for an example. And I have the talent there, just like Mark is doing with Mancini Media, which in about 5 or 10 minutes, he's going to have an opportunity to talk about that. So it's all a collection of what we're really looking to try to do. And I'm very delighted with, again, everything's all about growth, but you want to make sure, folks, in life, it's all about controlled growth. And that's what we're looking to do. And we want to make sure that we're accessible in as many places as we possibly can. So just so you know, folks, okay, you can subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on YouTube by going to youtube.com and then look for South Florida Tribune and hit the subscribe button, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So obviously, this is a brand new show. We expect some of those to come into play here, but we have a lot of great shows on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. Just to name a few, I already mentioned the three other ones: Fire Up Michigan, Florida, and Wisconsin. We have No Limits, South Florida Tribune Podcast. Inside the Pigskin, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and the list goes on and on. So we try to make sure we have different genres for different types of interests, because we don't believe that we want to be a one-trick pony. So with that said, Mark, what I'd like you to do is, why don't you give everybody an overview about your background? I don't think we've really spent much time with your background in the past, but this is going to be one of those opportunities where you're going to talk a little bit about Mark Mancini, and then the next thing you're going to talk about is Mancini Media. So talk about yourself, what you're doing. As I understand, you work with XM Radio. So give us an overview about Mark Mancini, the person, other than the Pittsburgh stuff that you're not going to be allowed to go off subject with and rant about your Pittsburgh teams, whether they're inept or apt. Okay, but talk about Mark Mancini, the person.
Well, I've always been raised, and I know my dad always used to say, son, nobody really cares what you know till they know how much you care. And I run with words of accountability, communication, character, and integrity. And they're lost words today. I mean, that's where you look at stuff in the society today. We see it. People look at talent more so than all these other words, but these words are very important to me. And like we've alluded to before, money comes and goes, relationships are priceless. I look at it like this. I mean, if I can be an ear to somebody that's having a rough day, so be it. They can lean on me as far as that goes. And we all have tough times. It's peaks and valleys, and it's how you handle yourself through adversity. I always know success is within our sights. You just got to be patient when it comes to you. That's what I look at. And when you see where people are coming from, we all have strengths. The world can focus on a weakness. I tend to focus on a strength, because if you focus on a strength, that means that person will give, anything for you. They'll run through a wall. And that's what I find these days is we don't focus on what people can bring to the podium. We focus on what they can't bring. And that's the key. So, I'm a Pittsburgh boy, pretty much raised 6 months after I left Pittsburgh, and been born and raised in L.A. Just started radio in San Diego. Was given opportunities along the way. I've been with XM Sirius for about 9 years. Fred Wallen and Artie Source have been great to me. They call me the world's worst handicapper. Whatever I pick, take the opposite. I've been doing blog talk since 2008-9, so I've been very consistent with that. Was given an opportunity with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tarek Brock now for a year and a half. Mondays and Fridays do that segment. Philadelphia's WWDB AM 860. I do that with Mary Ann Costello, Sal Tartaglia, and myself. And then I've been given other opportunities. I'm going into Vero Beach September 12th. Chris Pearl's a great friend of mine. We've got Peter Blake in Tampa, you guys out here in Detroit and Florida, and all this Fire Up series. And what I've always, stayed true is stay humble. You're only as good as your last show. And I don't try to get ahead of myself. I don't try to be arrogant or condescending, but I'll put my opinion out there, and, I'm not going to waver away from my opinion. But at the same time, when it's all said and done and we close up the show, we could shake hands and agree to disagree.
Right. Now, let me point out something. I don't know if you caught this, but I'll reiterate on it, okay? When we were over at Doubleday Field, I ran across a guy by the name of Dale Eller, who's a Pittsburgh guy, and we ended up doing a sports exchange at Doubleday Field. Now, it was a great sports exchange. I really enjoyed it, and it's amazing some of the people that you can meet on site and do a spontaneous show. Now, again, Candy Evelyn came up with the idea, and when you put me on the road for 42 hours on the road, 23 on the way there, and then another 19 on the way back, okay, then a lot of things can happen. When I meditate, listen to a lot of music, okay. But when she came up with this idea, it was ideal. Now we ended up doing a sports exchange titled the Pittsburgh sports scene with Dale Eller, one of the nicest guy. And Mark, I probably will pair you up with him at some point down the road when the situation presents itself. And that really got the wheels turning about being able to do Fire Up by itself, so you incorporate other markets. So all it takes is an idea, and then once you get an idea, then it can turn into a lot of different things, and and the rest is history. So, but that said, again, that's what it's all about: being able to reach as many people as you can, markets and so forth. I know, Mark, you have your own unique way of doing it, and we're working on it in a lot of different ways too. And that, I think that's the biggest important part about being able to get as many people involved instead of our own existing home areas. You got to expand. I mean, I could sit here if I wanted to be a local force in Southern Florida, I could, but I'm not one of those Florida guys that has a transplant mentality. I don't forget where I'm from, and I've enjoyed a lot of the national people I've met over the years through whether I've been in LA, whether I've been out in North Carolina for National Sports Media Association, meeting a lot of people. Dave Gorin's a really good contact there to go along with a lot of other people. I just released a show today with Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe, which I actually put in your media group. But again, it's all about, like you say, Mark, networking and the contacts, and that's what it's all about. So, folks, we hope that you'll have an opportunity to follow up Fire Up, because it's just a general show that will cover everybody. So, Mark, one thing I want to get to before we call it an earlier night tonight is Mancini Media, okay? Now, I will say I met Mark Mancini when he dropped into 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. I've been on the Philadelphia show with Marianne Costello, Sal Tartaglia, as well as Lou Anders, three of the nicest people. I'll get Marianne at some point one day. It was a great show, and I was so determined to go on. I was actually on the operating table 24 hours prior, and I said, I'm going to make this show, because as long as nothing stops me from talking, I will be on this show by hook or by crook. Thankfully, it wasn't my crook, and still managed to do it because they didn't operate on my vocal cords. So for the Philadelphia show, it was a really good show. And I made some good friends and other people that will have appeared and will appear again. So, Lou's been a great guy. Sal, Marianne's a sweetheart as well. So, and of course, Bruce Kessinger, what can I say about the guy? And there'll be others that we work on, and working on something with Peter Blake. But so, Mark, I guess my question to you is, explain to the audience what Mancini and Mancini Media is, okay? Again, I met you through 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and then we built our relationship, and now it's turned into something that I certainly didn't expect going into 2022. How was it formed?
Well, it was formed with a lot of guys from across the country that had shows and everything, and kind of gave them an olive branch. I always look at it like this, somebody's always gonna try to help you out and broaden your horizons, and you never forget that. And I remember when I was in San Diego, my professor down there at a junior college really opened up a door for me as a sports director in a junior college at Palomar, and it was KKSM, and he opened up a door, and that opened up a lot of things for me, and I never forget it. And you can't take knowledge and expertise and not pass it on. We know how this business can be. It can be a cutthroat business. It can be a me, myself, and I. But I kind of brought people in and, kind of let them have a free reins of it. And now it's up to 1.4 with people involved in that. So I'm kind of blessed on that aspect of it. But at the same time, I've always had the knowledge and, that I'm not going to let people tell me what I can't do. And if they don't have an opening, I'm going to create my own openings. I always liked the philosophy Bum Phillips had was when he couldn't get past the Steelers, it was, we're going to knock on a door. We're going to come back the next year. We're going to bang on it a little harder. The third year, we're going to kick the SOB off its hinges. And I've always had that attitude. And some people might not like it, and that's okay, but it's not going to stop me from, knowing where I want to go in life. And, my big dream is the Pittsburgh Pirates, my boyhood team. And I think what Tarek Brock has done for me, the first base coach in a year and a half, is doing a unique show with a guy during the season, not during the off season, during the the season. And I really think that's going to open up something for me. And this thing's opening up a lot of things too. And I'm grateful. And, a lot of people think, that I'm a big piece of what I do, but, I owe it all to God. I don't put my faith in nothing but him, and I don't push it. And I just say to myself that, if somebody's listening to this show and you run into negative people, all I can tell you is put earplugs in your ears, get ice in the veins, and look at those people as pylons in a highway. You just got to go around them. And that's it. And don't look back. Focus on what's on front. Put the stuff in front behind you and concentrate, and progress over regress. And I love you tremendously, Scott. I love George, your lovely wife, and some of these great guys across the network, because I look forward to this show on Mondays, just like I look forward to a lot of things I do.
Yeah, and the best part about the Monday slot, when you come in, Mark, we have a lot of different shows that we can plug in. I do want to point out something that I really enjoyed about Mancini Media. And I also want to point out 2 other groups that I belong to as well, so that people understand. John Gonzalez has the Sports Authorities group, which is a great group, and another one, Sports Podcasts and Podcasters, another one. But the thing that all 3 of them have in common is they give us the opportunity to post our shows in there, so people can relax and grow. So kudos to John Gonzalez, your group, as well as Sports Podcasters and Podcasts. And we want to thank Keith Engel for coming in here in the chat room, praising us. Great job.
Oh, he's a great guy, too.
Keith, you know what? I enjoy interacting with you on Facebook or wherever we come in contact. So you know what? Great job to you for even taking the time off your Monday night just to come in here as well. So, the advantages, Mark, between Mancini Media, Sports Podcasts and Podcasters, and John Gonzalez, the Sports Authorities. This gives guys like us who are business people an opportunity to go out there and put our content and our material and get visibility. And these groups, to me, are so priceless, and we are so thankful that each and every one of you give us an opportunity to share our hard work so that other people can benefit from it. Go ahead, man.
Not only that, I've always been structured. A lot of people think, it's all about, building the ratings, building all that. To me, it's always been crisp, clear, concise shows, building the chemistry, getting in the trenches, where you can, market and promote it. And that's how I look at it. And let me tell you, Keith Engel, I've been with him for quite a while in New York on Sunday mornings. And you want to get on a show like that, you guys, he is such a great guy. Unbelievable. TGI Sports Talk. I mean, there's so many good people. I mean, it take me an hour to break all these guys down. You got Mark Heffernan out of Fresno that runs the Mark Madness podcast. I met a nice girl in Daniel Orsino out of Charlotte. That's just a blessing. And you want to talk about Mary Ann Costello. This lady is just tremendous. I knew when I first met her a few years ago that in order for me to go into Philly, I had to bring her with me. She is one of the best moderators in the business. It's unbelievable the talent this lady brings to the table, and and it goes on and on. Peter Blake and these guys that just you can't say enough of that I'm associated with the guys out of Indianapolis, the cooking show, and Tyler Brook and Logan, Landers out of 100 yards of football in Atlanta. But Lou Landers and I have built something with intentional balk, and I mean, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, because
Mark, whether you are or not, the whole idea is really that's not the point. By the way, Keith Engel, anytime you want to come on our show, just go ahead and send me a direct message through Messenger, and then we'll set up a time. And I work with Lou Landers and everything, so it's not a matter of that. Relationships are what they are. The main thing I want to focus on tonight, folks, because we only have like another 5 minutes to go, is this. Okay, tonight I want to reiterate is the debut of Fire Up. And if you, just in case you're joining us right now, this show will cover every market except for the 3. It covers every market anyways, can benefit, including the 3 that we already have shows for: Michigan, Florida, Wisconsin. So if you're Michigan, Florida, Wisconsin, you'll still be able to enjoy it, because this is more of a national platform anyways. We already have 3 shows established for it. This just opens up the rest. So every market, including those 3, will benefit, because the guests are going to be almost universal. So just in case you're joining us, this is the debut of Fire Up. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined on this first show by George Eichhorn and Mark Mancini. I know you had a quick word, Mark.
Yeah, Peter Ray. If you guys ever want to get on his show in Cleveland, this guy is unbelievable. Part of the network and everything, and I've known him for years. And American Sports History Podcast. You got to get on that show. And
Well,
when I see George and you and just the knowledge and expertise that you guys bring, that's impeccable, to say the least.
Well, those are things that we'll work on as time progresses. Again, I want to make sure that I emphasize to our audience, and I'm so glad that all you folks are taking the time to join us, that tonight is the beginning of a new era. Fire Up. Okay. Yes. The brainstorm of myself and especially Candy Ebling. And we are looking forward to doing some exciting things with this show. And to me, that's really what it's all about, growth, but being able to do it the right way and get as many people involved as we can. So, so with that said, there you have it. The latest edition show to our family of shows already. I mentioned some of them earlier. But if you want a complete lineup of all the shows that we do have, go to www.southfloridatribune.com and look under the drop-down WSFT broadcast, and then you'll even find the ones that Mark sends us with Bruce Kessinger as well. We have a link to those as well, but we have them all. I'm not going to sit here and ramble off every single show. Again, tonight is the debut of Fire Up, and we are so glad that we were able to get this thing going tonight. And Mark and George and I certainly enjoy doing things together. But, we're going to keep it different on Monday night. We're not guaranteeing that every night's going to be in Michigan, or it just depends on what feels right on a Monday night when Mark pops in and what we feel we're going to do. But these shows are only going to continue to go out there and grow, and we just want you folks to be a part of it all. So, and we're glad that tonight you've taken that first step to join us. So with that said, any closing thoughts, George, about the new show?
No, I'm excited about it, echoing Mancini's thoughts. There's a lot to be tapped out there, and Mark's done a great job with all of the things he's been involved in. And we want to do a shout out to our friend Tommy Morris and Detroit, Florida, LA TV, World Wide Web TV, and California TV. We appreciate you being part of this. Okay, that's great. And we saw that you are, listening to this show tonight, and it's going to get better every week.
Yeah, and I want to point out something too, and I know I'm so excited about the Dale Eller show, and I'm going to share it probably the next day or so. But I met Dale Eller out at Doubleday Field at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, and I can't tell you how many great opportunities and people that I met up in upstate New York, and then taking it down to New York City and doing stuff. So the trip that we just finished in New York that encompassed 3,159 miles, 42 hours of interstate driving for myself, and a little bit of sightseeing. And then my wife, Candy, I gave her a little opportunity to drive in town. It was unbelievable. So, again, this is really what got the wheels turning. And, Dale is unbelievable. And, don't be surprised when I reach out to him whether he'll get back on. But meanwhile, Mark, again, you're part of another show here. And welcome to the club. Fire up.
Yeah, and Scott Van Slyke is sending me something. A great guy, and these are the kind of guys you build your own house, you go through your own door. Who's to say that you can't do something? There's a lot of negative in today's society. Block it out. Just focus on what's up ahead. It's kind of like being a baseball player when they're getting yelled at in different stadiums across the country. Put the earplugs in, you don't hear it.
Well, with that said, George, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
Sure.
Mark, I'll you in a moment.
Get a hold of me at SNG Sports 99, also on LinkedIn and Facebook. And my email address is gicorn@yahoo.com. You can read me in the Detroit Monitor, Motor City publication here, and also available on South Florida Tribune, my columns that Scott and Candy put out once in a while. I write a lot about sports. I love sports, and looking forward to many, many shows ahead on the Fire Up series. Thank you.
Very good. All right, Mark, go ahead, then I'll wrap it up.
Well, you can find me on XM 203, Series 217. That's the national show, the Sports Byline, Fred Wall and Artie Soares. Philadelphia on Thursdays, WWDB AM 860. Marianne Costello, Sal, and myself. Pittsburgh Pirate Podcast with first base coach Tarek Brock, Mondays and Friday mornings. Usually 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. My website now, I got a website thanks to my good friend that I went to school with 40 years ago, John Atwood, mark-mancini.com. So you can check that out and email me at mancinisports@yahoo.com. Everything's there as far as how you can get a hold of me. And we'll start putting up shows and stuff that we do. And just so blessed. I love you both. And let's face it, guys. I'll leave you with this thought. You come into the world with nothing. You leave the world with nothing. In between, you got to share, your visions. And that's all I can say, man.
All right. Well, let me wrap it up with a couple of quick thoughts, and we'll go from there. Once again, folks, if you didn't see it before, I'll just reiterate one more time. Subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel on either our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, or just go to youtube.com and look for it there. Hit the subscribe button, or follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I also want to point out that this show here visually is being seen on Facebook Live, Twitter, as well as our South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So we have the visual, the audio. And again, tonight, a new era has launched. Fire up. And I'll tell you one thing, folks. If you want to see everything about the South Florida Tribune, go to www.southfloridatribune.com. And I also want to point out that without Candy Ebling, the South Florida Tribune would not be anything, because let me tell you something. The work that this woman puts in here, she dedicates herself to posting good content on there, as well as all the broadcasts. And, she works a day job, but yet she finds time at night to go ahead and do this. And now one of the things I was working on yesterday is to try to find her some more broadcasting acts. And I got news for you. I'll take her sports knowledge over just about anybody out there, because she knows an awful lot. And, when we talk about the Fire Up Wisconsin, her and Eric Katz are going to be the two primary hosts running that show. So, again, there's an awful lot to bite off here. So we want to thank Facebook. We want to thank Twitter. And, of course, our YouTube channel for carrying the visual portion of it. And, again, what can I say? The website, the Twitter. It's all about getting it out there. Unlike our days back in the day, George, where we got our first opportunity at WXYZ Radio, you have to adapt to new media these days. You really do.
Most definitely.
Back in the day, all we had to do was come up with good content as well, and now we have to do a whole lot more. So with that said, we'll close it on that note. So on behalf of George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth. Thanking you for joining us. Madman Mancini, great job as usual. And I look forward to seeing you and Bruce on Saturday. But thank you very much for joining us. And a new era has started with Fire Up. So let's fire up. Good night, everybody. And God bless and be safe. And one other thing I want to mention, COVID-19 is out there. I know some of the cases being spread out there. So please go out there and be careful and don't take this virus for granted. So good night, everybody.